Hey everybody, what's going on? Sincere here with whoissincere.com and All Rights Matter TV. Listen, guys, this is a problem. I have to bring you this article, and I wanted to bring it to you a couple days ago when I saw it, but I've just been so busy lately. But anyway, um, Texas Police News, the premier website for police news in Texas. Now, as we know, a lot of these police departments and police, different associations and different organizations that surround themselves around the police culture, they support police media. So there's a lot of people that do writing for police departments or, write about crime or whatever, statistics. And these different organizations and associations and companies that surround the whole law enforcement culture digest this information. So I wanted to bring you something very interesting dealing with the Texas police. Now, I don't know who this guy is. Let's see here. Ron Martinelli. Ron Martinelli thinks that Black Lives Matter may be a cause for our nation's rising homicide rates. Although data does suggest that there is a drop in crime across the board, he's only talking about certain sections and certain populations with particular interest to large urban areas, meaning large inner city populations, where the homicide rates have gone up, in some cities significantly. So, what Ron Martinelli, the PhD, does is gives us paragraph after paragraph of facts, okay, about crime statistics and data. Or, I have not verified all of his facts or all of his data within these paragraphs. So do not let me say that if they are accurate or not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the methodology that he used to write this article. So he prefaces this article, and the title of this article, getting to that conclusion, by saying these are the facts about crime in inner cities. Then he goes to why is this? The first thing he does is tout his title. So he lets you know right away that he's a criminologist. Okay? And that is supposed to give you the psychological effect of, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So if he's trying to figure it out, then, whatever conclusions he's going towards may be, or probably going in the right direction. That's the psychological effect that creates when that's not even partially true. Okay? So he goes into the part of these have been historic problems within the inner city and minority communities. In that he was talking about development of meaningful job skills, alcohol, drug abuse, and sales, gang activity, and illegal alien crime. Okay, I don't even want to go off into that tangent, but I guess that these have been the problems of the minority communities, illegal alien crime. I don't think that's been a problem of the minority communities around the United States of America. I'm just going to be honest with you. Is there illegal alien crime? Yes. Does it mostly happen along the border states? Absolutely. Such as Texas? Absolutely. So he's writing from the perspective of things that he may see a little bit going on in Texas, but he's writing this as a broad assessment of the police culture and around the United States of America. You see what I'm saying? He's not writing this through the right scope of eyes. And the sad thing is, he knows this. It's not like he did this by accident, okay? So, he's saying, not a lot of people are being bumped off in Beverly Hills, California, or out in the Hamptons, which would be a correct assessment. Now, what are the differences between, inner city Chicago compared to the Hamptons? What are the differences? That's something that we don't get into in this article, okay? Instead, he lists that right there, and then he goes into his attack. Well, it appears as if the Marxist militant anti-police, anti-government organization Black Lives Matter is in part playing a role in the significant rise in our nation's homicide rate. What? Marxist, militant, anti-police, anti-government organization. First of all, anti-government means they wouldn't back any political candidate whatsoever. We've seen tons of Black Lives Matter supporters back Hillary Clinton, which they should not have done, given her track record. And we've seen her quote unquote half embrace that community. And we've seen Black Lives Matter candidates absolutely support Bernie Sanders 100%. So anti-government is not a part of the equation. Militant anti-police. Do you understand what that means? What this PhD is saying? He's saying that Black Lives Matter believes in being weaponized, okay, militant. Excuse me, get something to drink here. And not just being weaponized, but they're weaponized and they're anti-police at the same time. When that is not the case. That is not the case. You don't see Black Lives Matters protests around the country just regularly popping up with armed activists. Not armed activists that come from the Black Lives Matter side. You have some that come from the other side, such as I've seen Oath Keepers that were standing around, quote unquote, protecting Black Lives Matters folks one time for one protest. And I believe maybe even letting them help out with security and stuff like that. So I don't know all the details to that, but on the regular, whenever you see a Black Lives Matter protest, you just see a bunch of people standing in the street, chanting, a few people giving a speech. There's a march that happens to bring recognition, so eyes and people are watching, the massive movement of the crowd. And that's generally it. People go home after that and get back online and do their activism online. Sometimes good things come out of these protests, such as some people get charged up politically and start endorsing candidates like Bernie Sanders who are going to bring change to their communities. So these marches just work as a tool for people to voice their frustrations and to bring awareness to some of the issues, as well as in some cases possibly plan for future actions. So whenever you see these protests, generally speaking, for the most part, they're not violent. People march, they chant, they do a couple speeches, and they go home. Okay, and then back whoever they back politically. So they're not anti-government. Okay, they're not militant. Now, are they anti-police? You do have some people in the Black Lives Matter movement, a very small segment, that are 100% anti-police. And if you ask me, I will be honest with you, I would say I do not blame them. If you want to argue with me about that, I would implore you to go watch somebody I don't even agree with all the time, but he's dead on about police culture in America. Go watch High Impact Flicks. That's on YouTube. All one word, type it in High Impact Flicks, and it will come up, and you watch any video that he has to do talking about the police culture in America. And I guarantee you I would support it 100%. Okay, so I'm anti-police myself. Now, does that mean when I see a police officer, I'm going to be rude, or, if I'm armed, I'm going to get violent or dangerous? No. Why would it mean that? Just because we don't like a team in football or baseball or whatever your sport is, basketball, it doesn't mean that you go to the stadium armed and ready to harm them. Okay. It doesn't mean that, um, you mean any kind of malice towards them. Maybe you don't agree with their coaching staff. Maybe you don't agree with the way that they run their offense or the way they handle their defense, whatever the case may be. So you may be, my team is the Eagles. You may be anti-Eagles, but you're not going to go to the stadium to try to hurt the Eagles because that's ridiculous. Okay. Now, would you, if you're in a position of maybe working in the NFL culture or something to try to change the outcome of the Eagles winning, you might do that. You might, or something like that, but you're not going to come to the stadium because you're anti, you know, Eagles and try to hurt people. And it's the same thing. I may want to change the trajectory of how policing, of the police culture in America being anti-police, but I'm not going to go to the police department and do anything to harm a police officer. So this this author of this, the writer of this article, Ron Martinelli, is deliberately, when I say deliberately, I mean deliberately, using, you know, scare tactic terminology uh, to get you a little bit riled up, to automatically psychologically place in your mind the fact that these are very dangerous people. They're not anti-government. They're not militant for the most part. Oh, I have to get that, guys. Hold on one second. Apologize for that, guys. Had a quick phone call. Again, I definitely, apologize for that, guys. So I did not know that phone call was going to come through. But anyway, moving on. Uh, this guy, he absolutely knows that he's fudging the truth here, Ron Martinelli, and what he's doing is he's stoking fear, and it's really a sad thing to see someone of his caliber try to do things like this. Now, he's also a retired detective and a crime researcher, but whenever you use your gift of, the gifts that God is granted upon him of being able to protect and serve the public as far as what he's supposed to do, and then you use them for bad, like what he's doing right now. And then he goes up here. You can see his mind frame, if we read up here, speaks far beyond the issues of race and so-called white privilege. What do you mean so-called white privilege? White privilege is a real thing. It's not something that's just made up. It's a real thing. So, you can tell the mindset that this gentleman comes from, and you understand why he wrote the article the way he did. What's dangerous about this article is, um, he is setting up Black Lives Matter to look like a terrorist organization. Why is that dangerous? Um, it's dangerous because, one, he's doing it without any facts to support this salacious claim. Black Lives Matter may be a cause for our nation's rising homicide rates. There's not a single fact in here that points to any evidence that Black Lives Matter has been behind any string of homicides anywhere. There's nothing in this article. Nothing. And I've read the whole article. And look, you get lines like this: Black Lives Matter poses an extreme danger to the black community. Black Lives Matter brings nothing but trouble for the black community its leaders purport to support. The reality is that the BLM does nothing but exacerbate the problem of violent crime and homicides in the black community because its intended anti-police activities reduce police morale. So you literally have this doctor talking about the feelings of cops. because Black Lives Matter is anti-police, and they have anti-police activities, intended anti-police activities, that reduces the morale of cops, which exacerbates the problem of violent crime and homicide in the black community. Can you be stupider? Can you be any dumber? But this is what these people write, and this is what the community of law enforcement professionals will digest and say, "Hey, this guy is right," only because it plays into whatever their preconceived notions already are. People don't like news. They like to be pampered into what they believe already. They only want to hear what they believe already. They don't like change. And the algorithms on Facebook, YouTube, they're making it even more that way so you don't get out of your bubble. So people who are stuck in their bubble that read stuff like this is wonderful to them. This is affirming to them that those Black Lives Matter people, they're a terrorist threat to this country, and they're doing nothing more than tear apart the fabric of this country. Now, do you understand why the rhetoric of this, excuse me, I don't know what happened there, but why the rhetoric of this is so dangerous? It's so dangerous because you have people who are genuinely standing up, a population of people who are genuinely standing up, concerned about police brutality, not just for black people, even though it's Black Lives Matter, because proportionately speaking, we're killed at a higher rate, even unarmed, and a lot of times not committing a crime at all. Where what I mean by not committing a crime, by there's no victim. There's no victim to the crime. Like having a Lucy cigarette or smoking a joint or whatever. There's no victim to the quote unquote crime. So black people are killed at a proportionally higher rate. So hence the term Black Lives Matter started with black people, but Black Lives Matter has also advocated on behalf of other people who have been killed by police brutality as well. So with that being said, you have to really think, um, you know, uh, about what's being said here by this doctor. This is a doctor we're talking about. He's saying that the people who are standing up against police brutality, okay, who are standing up against police brutality, those people, the powerless people, are the ones who are to blame for the rise in the murder rate, okay, in hot pocket sections of the United States. It's not across the whole nation. It's mainly highly condensed, um, overpopulated urban areas. So this is dangerous, and this rhetoric is dangerous because not only does it portray the black community as a terroristic threat to the country, okay? Not only does it do that, but what it also does is it rips away the ability of BLM to be able to connect with other organizations who have a similar plight against the government. There's some libertarian organizations out there that are also anti-police. Okay? All right? And but they're more libertarian minded, though, so they're not really coming over to the progressive side, but they may agree with a couple things that the folks at BLM are saying, because they see it happening in their communities as well too. People are being over policed and harassed at alarming rates. We jail the most people in the world for things that aren't even crimes. um so just excuse me, guys, forgive me, this is so hard to talk about it, because it hurts me that people don't understand how easy this is to understand. I explain it to people and they look at me like I'm crazy. You're being over policed. Police officers have no authority to do the things they do to you. No one gave them that authority. They assume that authority, and based upon your consent, they level that authority upon you. This is nothing than some guys in costumes and guns that want to tell you what a politician said you can or can't do. And if you don't comply, they'll bash you over the head, throw you into a cage, or kill you. Now, you tell me if that's protecting and serving. Okay? No one gave them that authority, and they take your tax money to do it without you being able to say no. So think about that. When's the last time a gang took your money, told you what to do, and if you didn't listen and do it happily, that they would destroy you? When's the last time a gang did that to you? Oh, the police do it every day. Okay? So when you start learning about convict leasing and what the role of police officers are and how they work under corporate influence, yes, then we can have a conversation. Until then, police are not good for America. And community policing is the only viable method of any kind of law and order. And then when we talk about law and order, we have to talk about the bar, and we have to talk about who's levying the laws and how much participation do the people have in deciding these laws, and a grand scope of things. But we're not going to get into all that. We're going to go back to Ron's article. So, Ron, if you read here, he goes into saying Black Lives Matter are shrewd manipulators of the Black community and media. Okay? So, it's whenever, let's read the rest of it. They forward knowingly false narratives about police while presenting themselves as fighters of the oppressed. When uninformed people resonate with emotionally based and highly charged anti-police, anti-government rhetoric, it is difficult for them to consider forensic facts. It's as simple as that. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I don't know who this guy Ron is, but he is a horrible human. He is a horrible human. And I don't know if he calls himself a Christian. I don't know how he can sit in church and live his life by Matthew 25:34-46 and think that he's going to go to heaven. He can't even live his life by that verse and think that he's going to go to heaven. And that's for anybody else that allows their racism to show on their sleeve. Go read Matthew 25:34-46. And then tell me if your heart is pure. And tell me if your heart is good enough to get to the other side. So this character, Ron Martinelli, I don't have to have a PhD to debunk his methodology in writing. This guy is literally crazy. There's something wrong when you publish a piece like this that is specifically a hit piece meant to rile up emotion, instead of to evoke any kind of intellectual conversation about subject matters. He doesn't say what Black Lives Matter people are standing in the street for. He doesn't say that over 1,000 people are killed by police officers every year. Over 1,000 Americans every year are killed by police officers. And a large portion of them are Black. Unarmed Black people. He doesn't talk about the impact and the devastation and the loss that families suffer having their loved ones killed. We're talking about mentally impaired people who are being murdered by cops. They don't even know how to take care of our sensitive populations like people with mental disorders. Their first thought is to shoot and kill everything because that's what they're taught. If they don't comply, they must die. They don't shoot to injure. They don't shoot to stop. They shoot to kill. And if they don't kill you and you're still alive after after they finish shooting you, then that means that they probably did something wrong and they didn't do it the way they were trained to do it. And they'll likely be laughed at by some of their peers. When they shoot that gun, those rounds are supposed to hit your chest and put you down for good because you did not comply. So you don't comply, you die. And we know that cops have I believe over a 97% rating as far as getting off on all charges. This is dangerous. Writing like this is dangerous. Ron Martinelli, PhD, shame on you. Texas Police News, shame on you for allowing this piece to be ran. Shame on this organization for allowing these lies to be spewed. Okay, when you mix facts in with a lie, it's a lie. Okay, you can't mix lies in with a fact and still be telling the truth. It's impossible to do. Once lies muddy the water, it's a lie. The slightest introduction of a lie into the truth makes it a lie. Okay? You can be perfect your whole life and have one dirty thought. That means you're a sinner. And you should probably repent and ask Jesus to come into your heart. So there's that. The same thing with lies that pervert the truth. The slightest inkling of a lie that perverts the truth turns it into a lie. And that's what this man is doing. He's presenting truths and perverting it with massive amounts of lies. This is a lie. This whole article is a lie, and it's sad. It's sad because we can have the topics of discussion that focus on what is happening to the tax dollars in these communities as community centers have been decimated under Obama, under Bush, partly under Clinton, and they're not going to come back under Trump. We're talking about generations of children that will never walk inside a community center because that died off before they were born. We don't have community centers anymore. Our churches are not involved in the political conversation of leaders who would help to shape and mold our communities for better standards because our churches are funded by the federal government off of something called the FBI, the Faith-Based Initiative. So our churches have been co-opted by the government. Our education system has been decimated by tax cuts. The quality of the education system has been decimated by stagnation and tax cuts. The water supplies of the community, after decades of contamination, is eventually starting to show its side effects with high cancer rates, rates of high Alzheimer's, and in other deficiency diseases. The soil that some of these project communities and urban communities are built on are old factory grounds, wasteland pretty much. So all the toxins seep back to the top eventually. And when they do, they poison and impair the cognitive abilities and the brain function of those who are living in the surrounding area. These are all issues of the Black community. But none of these are in this article. The food supply and the food deserts that exist in urban populations where you can't find fruit, you have no access to fresh produce or vegetables. There's no access to fresh meat. There's no access to non-GMO food choices, which creates a devastating effect on the mind and the body. You don't have clean water. You don't have a clean place to live. You don't have clean food. You have horrible education. You don't have any job opportunities. And Harvard study has just come out with a report talking about why they are spraying our skies for geoengineering purposes. So yes, chemtrails are real. If you don't believe me, go talk to Harvard about that. So no clean water, no clean food, no good education. Okay? Those are a few things. No good air. No community support from churches, no community centers, no jobs. And none of this is mentioned in this article. If people like Ron Martinelli want to be taken seriously by anybody besides his constituents, which I'm sure he's not interested in being taken seriously by anybody besides those people, then people like Ron Martinelli need to start addressing the issues that this country faces. If people like Ron Martinelli want to make America great again, then you have to look at the weakest link. And the weakest link is not the African, but the weakest link is the folks that impose a system of oppression on the African. Those people are the weakest link that stand in the way of progress so that they can continue to hold control to power. Listen to what I'm saying, so that they can continue to try to hold on to power. It has always been the mission of the white government to make sure that they destroy and demolish any opposing or upcoming force of African power in the United States of America. I will repeat myself. It has always been the mission of the U.S. federal government to make sure that they destroys any opposing and upcoming power from the African American community. And they will do it by any means necessary, whether that's assassinating leaders, or having the FBI send you death threats or psychologically written letters that will trick you into committing suicide. Whatever it may be to dismantle the African movements in this country, they do it. And people like Ron Martinelli are heroes to folks that are looking for somebody to be their hero. But to people like me, Ron Martinelli, Dr. Ron Martinelli, are scum of the earth. Pure scum. Shame on the state of Texas for letting this doctor, credentialed person, write an article that has no supporting facts of any cases ever where Black Lives Matter has been attributed to the cause of murder, but based off of pure conjecture mixed with some stats that could be attributed to any of the things that I've also listed that he does not talk about. Having any of that in this article, it's not there. Okay, he's basing everything off of pure conjecture. And shame on Texas for allowing this man to be taken seriously. He's a clown. He's an obvious clown. And these are the type of people that receive money to go be a witness. Okay? To go be a witness at someone else's trial. So he already has a predisposed belief that Black Lives Matter is pretty much we'll say a terrorist outfit. So if he's going to a case where a black man has supported Black Lives Matter, what do you think he's going to decide? Do you think he's going to decide based on the facts, or is his vision going to be tainted by his obvious disdain for the organization? Okay, this is not hard to figure out, but these are the people that get paid to come in to be expert witnesses, people who write horrible articles like this. He doesn't talk about the KKK. He doesn't talk about white nationalism. He doesn't talk about the rise in hate crimes against the minority community since the presidency of Donald Trump has started. He speaks nothing of those very real and very current facts. The BLM has been all but quiet in these last few months, but not other organizations. They are on the rise, and the level of violence associated with those other organizations is on the it's at an epic level. All right, let's get back to the article. There we go. So that's all I got for you guys. I got to get out of here. Just wanted to spill my guts against this stupid ass doctor. It just, he's ridiculous, he's irresponsible, and he is a part of what the problem with this country is. That's the reason why I have All Rights Matter TV and the All Rights Matter show, because all rights matter is simple. We all have godly rights, constitutional unalienable rights, and if we hold on to that and if we respect each other underneath this umbrella of godly rights, then unity is impossible. Okay? Or not having unity is impossible. So we just have to really understand what our rights are, that they're God-given, that no lawmaker can change our God-given rights, and that we need to unite under those principles. That's all we have to understand as humans. That's it. Will there be differences? Yes, but accept those differences, but understand what your godly rights are, and that God, as the creator, has bestowed those rights upon you, not man. All rights matter. And that's why there should be equality under God. With that being said, guys, I'm signing off. I got to get out of here, run some errands real quick before that rush hour traffic gets to be too crazy. Yeah, guys, I'm going to drop Ron Martinelli's contact information in the box below. You go ahead and give him I'm going to try to find his phone number as well. You go ahead and give him a call and let him know how you feel about his article. But at the very least, I will have his email down there. So you go ahead and you write him a quick email to let him know that it's highly unappreciated to be this incorrect, this factually incorrect on purpose, just to make your, constituents happy. So this is dangerous. And Ron Martinelli is a part of the problem in America, and a part of the reason why it's so hard to fix what's going on in America, because people like him are still around spewing their garbage, their lies to generation and generation after people. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, and Ron Martinelli, like the rest of us, will see his day. He will see his day, and he'll realize that Matthew 25:34-46 should have been something that he stood by a little bit closer. With that being said, all rights matter. Stay alert, stay alive, share and subscribe. Talk to you guys later. I'm out.